inspired you to make this film and tell this story?
First of all, it's my profession, making documentary films. Secondly, Israel is an immigrants country. There is a lot of immigrants country. USA, United States is an immigrants country. Australia, Canada. But the big difference is that what unites the American citizen is the American dream, the future. They are looking for the future. In Israel, we are looking for the future, but meanwhile, we are digging deep in the ground to find our past. We are trying to connect our past to the future, which is very complicated, which because of it, we face a lot of conflicts. So I'm really, as a son of immigrants by myself, immigrants are really fascinate me. So when it came as an opportunity to make a film about this small tribe of Jews, Beta Israel, they prefer calling themselves Beta Israel. I jumped on this opportunity. Yeah, it's fascinating, in my opinion, to look about immigrants, to document immigrants and to document their sons. And that's what brought me to this film, and that's when I come from. And there is something very, there is racism in Israel. The Orthodox, let's say the religious people, are very suspicious about the Beta Israel people, and the other people in Israel, let's say they have some problem with the color, let's say it that way. And I thought that if I want to fight racism, the best way is by making the knowledge of the people. When you know people, it's hard to be racist. Right. So that's my main aim in this film. And another thing that was very important for me, for the second generation, the young Ethiopian second generation, so those who was born in Israel, they knew very little about their great history of the great history of the parents. And I thought it's time that they know about the braveness of their parents. So all those three, and again, it is my profession, brought me to Jerusalem. And what is important to say, when Beta Israel say Jerusalem, they don't mean Jerusalem, the geographical territory of Jerusalem. It's the Holy Land, and it's a Mashiach.
Right. Yeah. It's the Jerusalem of above, not.
Yeah.
That's actually very common in Africa, though. Like to talk about. I had a professor, Nomi Chazan, at Hebrew University, and she told me when she made a phone call from Ghana to Jerusalem, so she had to go to the post office, and when they heard she was calling Jerusalem, like everybody started listening in, and they couldn't believe that you could actually talk to Jerusalem. Because it's always been like God
is there.
Of that where God lives.
Yeah, it is. That's the way and in the film, Rabbi Sharon Shalom said that they came to the airport in Lod, Nadbag, and they kissed the ground, because all what is in the Holy Land is Jerusalem for them. And it's wonderful. And if I may, I'll add something else here. you know, Israel, the founder of Israel was Tzionim, Tzionut, and Zionism is any Western ideology that was built Israel. The Tzionim built Israel, and then come people from the Islamic places, and they come to Israel not because of the Zionism. They came because how do Kmiha Zion, hearing for Zion. It's a religious feeling, and that's one more conflict that here in Israel we are facing all the time between Zionism and hearing for Zion, and there is a quite conflict over there. And those people from Ethiopia, those Jews, arrived because they are hearing for Zion. That's what brought them to Israel.
Yeah, but you know, I thought it was interesting that you had so much footage, actual footage of from Ethiopia. Like where did that come from? Because it really gives the film like almost like you're watching the news, you know, like kind of a newsreel feeling.
Thanks, American Jews. Most of the there was in '68 an American filmmaker, Meir Levin, went to Ethiopia and shoot there in it was 1968.
Do you mean
By the way,
Mayor?
Meir Levin was a scriptwriter of Hitchcock before, and he went to Ethiopia and shoot there a lot of material. At 1972, an Israeli crew went to Ethiopia, and they shoot again, document again the community. Afterwards, there was a guy, a Canadian filmmaker, Simcha Yakubovich, which was one of the activists of the AAEJ. He went to Ethiopia in '82, and he shot over there in Ethiopia and in Sudan. And there was what more archive we got from the Mossad people, that when the first ship left Arus, Sudan, to Israel, they wanted to show begging that the Jews are coming. So they sent a crew to the ship, to Bat Galim ship, and they should document the first meeting on the boat. So we had quite a lot of material. And there is a material from Sudan, which was, most of them was documented by the Red Cross people in Sudan.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm trying to think of where was I and why wasn't this on my why wasn't I thinking about this even? You know, each time during the film I kind of thought like, well, what was I doing that I wasn't so aware of what was happening? So it was really a wake up call for me.
I must say, the AAJ and the American activists did quite massive work to get attention, and there was another group of very few young Ethiopian Jews that through the '70s managed to get to Israel, and they made a lot of noise, and they attract attention to their people that was left in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And that's the way. Actually, Israel doesn't want them. In '48, when
Right.
Israel established, they wanted every single Jew from whatever, just from demographic reasons. But nobody went to Ethiopia to bring those people from Ethiopia. They didn't want them. Most, I mean, when I'm saying didn't want them, it's because of a religious region. They felt that it's going to be complicated. They are not quite the Jews, the different Jews, and so on. They are not Halacha people, and so on. So that's why they left behind. We left them behind. But that's what really what made me quite להעריץ, no, I lost the word.
Admire.
Admire those Beta Israel people.
Yeah.
They kept wanting and wanting and wanting and wanting till they did it.
And they were willing to leave everything behind. I mean, I don't know how much they had, but they were willing to leave behind what they knew for what they aspired to.
Yeah, they left behind what they knew, and they did quite a long journey to Sudan, and from Sudan to Israel. I mean, in a way, it's a biblical story. It's Ethiopian Exodus.
Yeah. What were some of your challenges making this film? Like, was there a funding challenge? Was there, like, how long did it take? Were there other things that
there is always when you're making documentaries, there are always funding problems.
Tell us a little bit about the backstory.
I wish I had more, because I wanted to interview the people in Chicago, by the way. There was the main people that worked from the IAJ people was based in Chicago. I wanted to went over there and shoot them and give their perspective on what's happened. I wanted to send a crew to Sudan to be in the places, but you know, we are short money. Mm-hmm. But that's what he succeeded to do. It was with the funds that we got.
Yeah. Did you leave anything on the cutting room floor? Are there things that
a lot?
Is it another movie?
We did 5 episode series about the story on Israeli broadcast. The Israeli broadcaster screened 5 episodes of this film, but you know, I think it's very hard to put people to watch 250 minutes. Mm-hmm. So we gather it to 90 minutes so people could sit and watch it. Right. But actually, we had we screened on the Israeli broadcaster 260 minutes.
I'm gonna go back. It's like, you know, the film Shoah, isn't that like 4 hours or 6 hours or something? Yeah. It's hard.
Very long.
There was a film that Claude Lanzmann made about the Holocaust, Shoah it's called, 9 hours. Yeah, but it's mostly the French love to do such a long films. I think the 5 episodes was very interesting. It was quite a success in Israel through the broadcasters, through the television screening. But if we want to make it possible for young people in school, in the army, and in the state, and so on, mm-hmm. 9 minutes is it's easier.
Absolutely. How do you so how was, like you said that it was a success in Israel, how do you feel, or what change do you want to bring about with the film? What's the impact that you want to make?
I wanted the Israeli people to know Beta Israel. I'll tell you something. In the 80s and the 90s, when the Ethiopian Jews arrived to Israel, the narrative was our brave and beautiful and handsome guys, Israeli guys from the army and from the Mossad, took from the trees some black Jews and brought them on their hands to Israel. Most of the credit went to the Mossad people, as Air Force people, and so on. And we was quite sure that there is a very primitive people, African primitive people, and who care? I mean, that's the way we treat and we looked at them in those times. And I really wanted to break this narrative. In the Israeli narrative, there was no place for the American rule in this exodus. I wanted to put it in. I want to put in the braveness of the Ethiopian people. And I think it did its impact. I mean, quite a lot of people saw the episode, the series, and a lot of people saw the feature-length documentaries that you are showing in your festival. And I hope, I want to believe that for few of them, it's made a change in their mind, as I understand that the real brave people are the Beta Israel people. That's something that I wanted to pass, to put in front of the Israeli people.
Yeah.
And but anyway, racism, they are still suffering from racism. Now I'm producing a film made by two Israeli Ethiopian very talented directors about three young women that they lost their brothers because of police brutality. In the last 20 years, there is 13 young Ethiopian Jews, Israeli, young, that was killed because of police brutality, and no policeman ever paid for it. And they came out with a lot. In 2019, a guy, Solomon Taka, his name, was killed by an officer, policeman officer. He shot on the ground, and somehow the bullet hit his chest, and he was dead. And that's brought out a lot of anger and a lot of kaev. Again, will you please, kaev?
With pain, a lot of pain and sorrow.
Pain, yeah. Thank you. It's so good you speak Hebrew, so you can help me from time to time. Thank you. And that's films that we are making right now, and it's going to be broadcast in the Israeli television at the end of December. So racism, they are still suffering from racism, which is quite pity, really pity, and annoying.
Yeah. What about, there's like a popular TV show about an Ethiopian man who marries, it's almost like a sitcom / drama, Nebzu. It's an Israeli. Eileen, we should maybe show this as well.
There is a comedian. Yes, this kind of, how do you call it? I'm not seeing very much of television, sorry.
Okay.
But there is a program about the young Ethiopians that is married to a white Israeli, and but it's a kind of It's for fun. They did it for fun. But it's good. It's good. I mean, every time that there is a Ethiopian Jew, young Ethiopian Jew on television, it's great.
Right.
I'm glad.
Sometimes you have to do that. You have to, I feel like sometimes they have to, I hate to say, kind of bring it to the level of the audience to create awareness,
Right.
right? Like of a situation. And sometimes that starts a conversation that can bring about some change.
Right. Like in one of the episodes, I know we're talking about your film, but just in one of the episodes, he goes into a grocery store to buy something and people keep asking him for help to get things down from the shelves or to go back in the,
That's a
because
therapy. That's a
obviously,
therapy.
right, if you're in the supermarket, you know, Ethiopians work in supermarkets. So but I think I agree. Like I mean, everything is
I would
helpful,
like,
but this Jerusalem will tell the real
I
story.
would like to say something. It's very good that on the table there is very different dishes. And it's great that there is such a kind of dish, and there is great that there are Yerusalem kind of dish. A lot of dishes. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think exposure. It's about exposing people to ideas
Correct.
and
Correct.
peoples and, you know, cultures. And so I think you do need a potpourri, you know, you need a smorgasbord of opportunities to open up conversations. How has COVID affected filmmaking?
We have a problem.
Mhm.
Yes, Houston, we have a problem. It's quite hard to finance a project at the moment, and there is very few money, and we are struggling. I mean, making a documentaries, it's a long run of struggling. You all the time struggle to make, because it's not that attractive like, you know, a feature film or commedia or drama. It's you need as an audience to work while you are seeing documentary. I mean, you have to. It's not easy watching. Sometimes they want to. You get some knowledge through it. Through it, I mean, there is also a lot of feelings during it, and it's quite hard to watch documentaries. It's not very popular anyway, unless you are Michael Jordan, and then Netflix made a series, and a lot of people watched it.
Right.
Usually, less people watching documentaries, so it's quite it's a struggle. It's a Sisyphus in a way. I mean, myth of Sisyphus. We are trying, and I'm doing it quite a lot of time, a lot, about more than 35 years, and I hope to keep making films for the 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, 20 years that left in front of me, and I'll struggle to get money from what I want to do.
What are you working on now?
I, in a way, there's few subjects. I mean, at the moment, I'm producing 2 films. I suffered from a tragedy this year, a personal tragedy. My wife passed away, and I'm quite not in my. I'm not in my best.
Sorry.
Let's say it that way. So I'm trying to. I'm struggling. I'm weak, a bit weak, but I hope the energy will come back.
Yeah.
The energy, the patient will come back. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, maybe have we seen anything else that any other films that you made? Maybe
Yeah,
you know, we didn't connect the
Yeah.
name to the film.
yeah, I'll tell just, I mean, last year, there was a film that I made about Menachem Begin.
Mhm.
The name
Oh,
is Peace and War.
I saw that.
It was shown in Miami, and it was shown quite all along in
Yeah.
some places in the state.
Yeah.
It's very interesting one.
I like.
And afterwards,
Was it on Kan 11 also? Was it on Israel TV as well?
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I saw it.
yeah. You
Yeah,
saw it?
yeah.
Anyway,
was-
if you want, I can send a link so you can, if somebody would like to see,
Oh, that would be
watch
great.
it.
Please do.
So I'll do it. And
Yeah,
afterwards, I did a film, a series, 3-episode series about Ariel Sharon.
I saw that. Levy,
Uh,
I might be your biggest fan. I didn't know it.
and then I lost my wife, and from then
Okay.
I'm not that I don't know. I'm not.
You're not doing, you know, there are
Mutar
times
lecha.
in our lives that we have to take time. You know, you know how it says to every season, like to every time there's a season, like I feel like there's time to mourn, there's time to reflect, there's time to heal, and there's time to be, you know, prolific. And you know, that time will come again. I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. I hope her
I'm
memory
okay
will
with
be a blessing
I'm
for you.
trying to heal myself, to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I saw. Sorry, we went to a personal tragedy.
It's okay.
There is any question about Jerusalem? I would love to answer if there is somebody interesting.
So,
So I don't see any questions coming in. If anybody has a question, please put it into the chat. We're happy to share it with Levy.
who are your favorite filmmakers? Levy,
Pardon?
who are your favorite filmmakers?
You said you don't watch a lot of TV, so
No
Yeah.
doubt. Errol Morris is one of my favorites. And once I met the early Michael Moore. I loved
Oh,
the early one, not
Yeah.
I mean, and what I went to the documentaries. People came, yeah. There is a lot of feature films, feature director that are I love them, but in the documentary, Errol Morris is one of my models, no doubt.
yeah. How did you become a filmmaker? Like, how do you start making films? Like, what, like, where does,
I started as an editor. I mean, I don't know why I choose it. I must say, I wasn't as a child. I didn't was a film sick. After I finished the army, and then somehow I decided, I don't know exactly how it came out, that I would like to be in the editing room. And I was editor. And then when I got fed up for that, I started to direct mostly commercials, which is very boring. I must say it's very, very, very boring in my point of view. And then I started making documentaries, and I felt in love. And since the late 80s, I'm making films, a lot of films, and I love them.
I watched an interview that you did about the film Begin, and I know that you spoke about how it, you know, it came, that the film was in part came from the conversation that you had with your father. And I
Yeah.
wonder, does this film, I mean, if I think about it, this film, a lot of the themes are the same. We're talking about
Immigrants, and
yeah,
immigrants. My father is immigrant in 48 to Israel from Morocco. And I am son of an immigrant. And it's something that was, I asked myself a lot of questions about the first generation and the second generation.
mhm.
That's what brought me to Begin in a way. And that's what brought me to Jerusalem in the other way. It's very fascinating question, the relationship between the first generation and the second generation. And these films that I told you about those, we call it sister in blood, about those 3 Ethiopian girls that lost their brothers. Again, it's the relationship between their mothers, first generation of immigration, and their second, and there is a third one already.
Mhm.
So it's something that really I'm dealing with it a lot. It's something that I find it fascinating.
Absolutely.
So I'm there. I'm there from time to time. I'm jumping to this conflict or this subject, let's say.
Well, we're gonna, you know, we're looking for more film from you. We're certainly, you know, eager to see what this next film, and I hope you'll come visit with us again, because we'll certainly show the film.
With
And
pleasure.
I want to thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure getting to meet you. I have to say, and I think Abby will agree with me, that
Totally.
the one thing that really COVID has done is it's made the world smaller so that we get to know one another. Used to
Yeah.
be you had to fly somebody in, like you said, everything costs money, and it made it put a barrier to getting to know the filmmaker, and getting to know the filmmaker often like enhances what you take away from a film. So it's been just a pleasure getting to know you today and to hearing
Thank you.
your
Thank
story,
you.
the
It was a
story
pleasure.
behind the film. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, everybody,
you.
for joining us today. And please join us tomorrow evening at 7 when we'll be talking about The Conductor with the filmmaker. And everybody have a wonderful day. You have a wonderful evening, Levy. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Tov.
Lila
Bye.
Tov.
Bye.
Laila
Bye.
Tov.
Bye-bye.
Bye.